There we go.
Oh my God. There we go.
Hey.
I was telling Berlisa that I thought you went to Panama instead of coming to Orlando.
I might have gone to Africa.
My dear friend Oglah, thank you, first of all, for accepting this invitation. It is an honor for me to sit down with you, talk a little bit about your story, learn a little bit more about you, and that I can share your story with friends, your story of inspiration uh, that I always talk about. And it inspired me to share your story. So for those of you who are joining us, I want to introduce you to my friend Oglah. And Oglah, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, first of all, it's an honor for me to be here because not only are you a great colleague, a business partner, but also such a great friend. And very quickly in my journey towards real estate, we found that we shared quite a few values. And I think it's just been an incredible journey for the both of us. So a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Kenya. I actually graduated college and then was recruited by Disney to come and open Disney's Animal Kingdom. I was part of a group of 106 students from Africa that came to open Disney's Animal Kingdom. And after that, I spent the next 15 years in hospitality and then went to retail, ran a few Target stores here in the Orlando area. Went to Canada, opened a Target store over there, and then in 2016, I decided to kind of step back because I felt like I lost what my purpose is, right? Which is always to be reconnected back to my people back in Africa and really have an impact. So I kind of stepped back from that corporate world, which, you know, was just very successful. I just had such a tremendous growth in my career and leadership and got into real estate and then found Keller Williams. And since February 2016, I have been at Keller Williams. I started as an agent and shortly became a team leader overseeing 2 brokerage locations for the owner. And then recently, July 2019, decided that to take the next step and actually bought a Keller Williams franchise. So it's been quite an incredible journey.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. Have a good night. Oh my God. What a journey. What a journey. And I'm glad that you made such a quick introduction because now I'm going to take you way back to Africa.
Let's go.
I know you say you were born in Africa. You came to a college program with Disney to help open up Animal Kingdom and to work in Animal Kingdom, which is fantastic. But let's take a flight. Let's take an imaginary flight. And let's go back to Africa, where you promised me that you're going to invite me one day, and it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Africa. You were born in Kenya.
Yes.
For those that are watching us and are not familiar with Kenya, Kenya is in Eastern Africa, right? Right in the middle of Africa, in the eastern side. Kenya. What part of Kenya are you? Are you from the capital? The capital of Kenya is Nairobi, correct?
So let me first of all put a disclaimer. The Kenya of today is not the Kenya I grew up with because right now Kenya is one of the most developed countries in Africa, from technology to business to just being quite a great hub of great businesses internationally. But no, I grew up in the village. I mean, really in the village. You know, that kid that walked to school, one pair of shoes, one pair of uniforms, that was me. Just really grew up in a small village. But one thing that's great about my hometown, Eldoret, and the vicinity of it, we actually are home and incubator of more than 90% of all the Olympic runners. It's an incredible location in Eastern Africa because of the equator. The air is so great, the altitude is so great. So when runners, Olympic runners, train over there, when they come out to compete, they actually end up winning a lot of the races, especially the Olympics. So I am born in that village, and all I saw growing up, honestly, was just those runners running, winning the Olympics. There wasn't much going on over there in the village.
And you live in that village until age of what? How old were you when you left the village?
I actually softly left the village when I left high school. So I went to elementary school, middle school, and I went to high school back in my hometown. So I left the village the first time to go to my high school. I had never really gone anywhere out of the village. Then was, you know, because of my grades, I was selected to go to one of the top-notch high schools on literally a full scholarship. And that's where I kind of really started learning that excellence and being, you know, being a lady and being a leader. It was then that I started learning that and really getting exposure to that. But then when I left my high school, Franklin, I told my mom, one way out. One way out, and she'll tell you this today. I said I was either going to end up in South Africa or Dubai. I never said the United States, but I knew that failure was not an option for me. I was about done with the village life. I was going one way out.
Okay, and back to that childhood growing up in the village. Tell me a little bit about a story that you shared in a training that we were together in a class in Bold. I remember they were talking about and they were asking for gratitude.
Yeah.
They were asking everybody, what are you grateful for? And some people were saying, oh, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my business. And it was very impactful what you said that you were grateful for. What was that? You remember that moment?
Absolutely. I'll never forget that. It was my first Bold training 3 months into the business. I'm in this room with, top producers. From $50 million producers in real estate, $10 million, 20. It was about a little bit over 100 people in that room. So when we were passing out, gratitude and standing up and being grateful, a lot of people are grateful about business, grateful about growth, grateful about Keller Williams, grateful about opportunity. And I remember just sitting there thinking, oh my goodness. At first I was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't share it and stuff like that. But I was like, I think I need to bring a perspective of gratitude. To me, at that point, there was actually a drought happening in Kenya, meaning the animals were dying, our food crop was dying. And I just stood up and just shared that I was so grateful, number one, for water. Just availability of water, because in that part I was going through the pain with my family back home, which my 99% of my family is still in Kenya, where they were struggling. My family, they're farmers. So when there's no water, there's a lot of suffering. We also produce a lot of crop for the rest of Kenya. So when you don't have water, it impacts not just the village and the people, but it also impacts such a large scale of, what it is in Kenya. So I was grateful for water. And then the last thing I said I was grateful about is the opportunity to actually have problems. And let me just explain. Let me tell you, there's a part of the world, mostly outside the United States or Europe, there's a part of the world that people would gladly appreciate other problems other than not having food and water and healthcare and just opportunity. When I was growing up, there was no hope where I grew up. We really did not define. We didn't have a definition of what success was. It was mostly just being able to live and eat. And then going to school was like that was the measurement of your success, that you went to school, you went to elementary school, and then to, middle school, and into high school. And then college was just a big celebration back where I grew up. So I think just being appreciative that water, and also just that opportunity to have problems. And I just remember that I felt like that Bold room, if you remember, just completely, people stopped breathing. I remember I just looked around and everybody just gasped, and just people started crying, because it was unbelievable that, we have so much here in the United States that we don't even realize what the world is lacking.
Yeah. And that's a great point, to have the opportunity to have problems, because our problems most of the time is not just to find food for the day, but just to find water to drink. And that's the elemental things of life. And there are still people, some places in the world, that lack those basic opportunities.
Completely.
Yeah. So what do you think was the main reason, Oglah, back then, that gave you that mentality, that vision of wanting to succeed? Like when you say, okay, I'm out, is one way out. Why do you feel that had burning desire inside you to get out and do something different?
Honestly, Franklin, when I reflect on that, it's even mind-blowing for me, because it wasn't like there was a system or a model or really role models to look up to say, I want to be that. Obviously, I found out very quickly that I wasn't going to be an Olympian. So that kind of took away the guy in the village that was the inspiration of so many people, because a lot of people that grew up where I grew up knew that if you ran, you got a scholarship and you're able to leave the country. So I think part of really the seed of where that started is the fact that I read so many books. My parents tell a story where I was reading newspapers from front to back when I was 5, 6 years old. By the time I was 7 years old, I was actually, my auntie this week shared with me that I was teaching my grandma, my dad's mother. I was trying to force her to read, and I was 7 years old. So those stories in those books started really taking me away to another world. It was an emerging world. And then as you go through a lot of hardship in your life, in those moments, I felt like I had a out of body experience. I had to live two lives: my physical life, where there was hardship and lack of opportunity, sometimes lack of food on the table, maybe wearing one pair of shoes for the rest of the year. You only got clothes during Christmas, that kind of thing. I started living this life here, right here on the side, outside my physical being, outside my mentality. And in this life here, it was perfect. I was going places. So I started dreaming very early. And then we had this little TV. It was like locked in a little cabinet like my mom used to lock it. And whenever we could watch it, I would watch Oprah. And I was just like, oh my God, who is this lady? Like, what is she talking about? And she was talking about the Oprah, the Angel Network and giving back in Africa. And I was like, oh my God, that's who I want to be. I want to be that person that can bring people onto life, provide them opportunity, and really help them succeed in life. And then I was obsessed with basketball. So Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, that's the first place that I kind of saw life outside my circle, and I never looked back. So I think a lot of it also is God-given truth. I think a lot of it is also spiritual. My grandmothers were very spiritual. And there was a message that was being preached at the church about hope and an inspiration. And I think a combination of that and just my strong ability at a very early age to imagine bigger things for me and know that it's incredible when at 10 years old, you're already thinking that you're going to be responsible for your siblings. It's incredible. Not just cooking for them. I would carry my sister on my back. My youngest sister, she's in Pennsylvania right now. She was strapped on my back when I was about 7 years old. And I had to take her to my grandmother's house. And then from my grandmother's house, which is about 3 miles, take another 4 miles or so to go to school. I was 7 years old and asthmatic.
Walking.
Yes.
And today, when people have to walk 2-3 blocks, they complain.
Yeah. You don't know any better.
Yeah. How many brothers and sisters, Oglah?
Total of 10.
Total 10.
Yes.
Wow. And I know your brother passed away last year.
Yeah.
Remember that. And so all the others are still with us, right?
I also lost a younger sister in 2009. And that's the other thing too. When you're an immigrant, people don't realize a lot of time when you're going back home is for funerals and going to say goodbye to people that you didn't spend time with. So
yeah. I remember last year when we went back there to bury your brother, which was a very sad moment. But again, that gave us a great perspective, Oglah, of what we have here that we take for granted, and especially these times that we are living right now. Here in Orlando, we are just supposedly coming out of quarantine, and it's sad that we see a lot of people getting out of their houses, complaining because they were in quarantine for 2 months. But the first thing they want to do is go to the mall, do shopping, buy more stuff that they don't need. They don't realize that the closets are full of clothes that they didn't wear for 2 months. And the reality is that it's a lot of stuff that we don't need. And that story that you're sharing growing up, put it in perspective. I mean, what is it that we really need in life, and what is it that we need to value in our lives? So you got out of the village, you went you came to the United States for the first time. How was that experience? I mean, coming in to Walt Disney World. I mean, Animal Kingdom, I imagine, has nothing to do with the real jungles of Africa.
No.
The real Africa. I mean, I'm pretty sure they did a good job making us think, I mean, and giving us an idea, but the real Africa, I mean, but how was it coming to Disney in Orlando for the first time?
So let me just share.
Being on a plane, flying on a plane across the ocean for the first time.
So let me just go back a little bit to leaving Kenya, then you can understand how that experience was. When I was actually selected to go to Disney and given the opportunity, I was actually in Europe. I had done an internship in Norway. First person in my college to have gone to Scandinavia, right? So I'd gone, it was like negative 35 degrees sometimes. I was in the housekeeping department and laundry, doing the thing, but it was a very small hotel in Oslo next to the King's Palace. So when I was there is when I got a call to actually come back to Kenya and process my paperwork and then leave for the United States. So I left Europe on a Tuesday, flew to Kenya, processed my paperwork, went home, delivered the news to my mom and then my dad. I couldn't see all my family because I only had 24 hours back in Eldoret, back home. Got back to Nairobi, and I think it was like a Saturday, flew back to the United States. So I was in 3 continents in a week.
In a week, wow.
And my parents are looking at me like, what are you talking about? Like, where are you? I'm like, I'm going to America. I was like, what are you talking about? And literally, I was just, I think I had just been so solid in the fact that I was going somewhere and there was no stopping me. So I was just go. So I got on the plane with 26 others from my college. And so we came to the United States, and Disney puts us in these apartments. There's like 6 of us, and then there's 2 bathrooms, and it's not people it's like people from all over the world. I had roommates from Korea and China, the United States, so it was really, really weird. We're making $5.95. $5.99. And then when we went to Disney, okay, this is the funny part. We talk about it and laugh right now, but we went to Disney, people thought we were like fake props. People used to ask us, are you really African? Did Disney teach you to speak like that? And then when you're like, yeah, and we have these ridiculous outfits that first of all, we didn't wear those outfits in Kenya. So we got this African outfits, and we are literally driving the safari trucks. So I started driving the safari trucks with a spill that we had to practice. Disney did not know what to do with African students. They had Epcot, so they knew about, maybe some, students from Morocco because of the Moroccan pavilion, but really dealing with 100 and something African students from all over Africa. Number one, they thought that we were like this big kumbaya group. We don't get along in Africa. Like South Africa, East Africa.
They thought you were one happy family.
No, we didn't speak the same language. We did not have the same culture. Our friends from the Southern Africa were just coming out of apartheid, so there was a lot of anger there to the world. We from Kenya are just like, hey, peace out. What do we do next? Want to make money. So it was very, very interesting. But actually, one thing that came out of that that situation is there was a lot of misconceptions about African students, right, and how to treat us, because when they came to market for us, we thought we were getting management jobs. Frankly, we came with suits. We were going to be managers. So we came with suits. We landed in the United States, and we're saying jumbo and being greeters. We had just graduated from a top college too, so to us it was a lot of culture shock. So anyway, we go to Disney, and in that opportunity, and I think that's kind of where my leadership really started coming in. I was identified as one of the trainers for Disney, and we were put together, just a few of us, to become a task force to create the right recruiting program for Disney students. So they were not painting a picture. They did not tell us we would be at Animal Kingdom outside 100 degrees. No break for about 4 hours. Okay, we're African, but we're not like standing out in the heat of Africa for 4 hours, spilling and saying things that we're supposed to say in order, right? Like if we went out in the sun in Africa, it's because we were going to fix something, and back in the house, there was a lot of humidity. So there's a lot of culture shock for us. So that task force actually, so I was part of that task force. I led a task force. We recreated the orientation videos. So I have some videos somewhere in the world right now where I was talking about the program and the reality of it. It's not a management job. You will be outside. You'll be making minimum wage. You will have to, say the spills, and you would have to leave with 6 people in the room. And we finally put everything together. We rewrote all the training programs for the African students, orientation programs. And we actually got to host an event for Michael Eisner at that time, who, was the president of Disney. And it was great. It was a great experience. So just turn that around.
So basically, that group that came with you paved the way for other students that came from Africa, and kind of helped Disney understand a little bit better the culture. Because you're absolutely right. There's a huge misconception that people in this side of the world sometimes, in Latin America, I'm from Dominican Republic, Latin America speaks Spanish all over from top to bottom, except for from one or two countries that speak other languages. But Africa is not the same.
No.
I think almost every country speak a different language and a different dialect. And sometimes people think that whole Africa speak African.
And in Kenya. In Kenya alone, there's 46 dialects. And then in my tribe, Kalenjin is one dialect, but there's like 8 sub-dialects in there.
Wow.
So, you bring people that speak more than 100 languages into one organization at the same time.
It's a lot. Oglah, your perseverance, because at that point, you could have said, you know what? I came here with a suit. I came here with the mentality of getting a job. I'm on the heat. Treated probably not the best way sometimes. And at that point, sometimes people get frustrated. And so some people just say, you know what, I'm going back home. And before you tell me, you know who's joining us all the way from Spain?
Yeah.
Your friend, Franklin Mateo Jr.
Oh my goodness.
He woke up just to see you. It's 2:00 in the morning in Spain. He's joining us.
Oh my, I am so proud of that young man. I feel like I've watched him grow, and you're such an amazing father. And when I look at your children, it's just a testament of what a great father you are.
So he stayed up just to listen to your story. We have some great friends joining us. Maria Santa Cruz is somewhere there. Daniela Burgues is also joining us. My cousin Hochi Chong, he's always in these conversations. But Oglah, what do you think kept you going? Like at that point, that you didn't say, you know what, this is not the best, I'm going back to Africa, or you were just convinced that it was not going back, you had to make it work?
Well, one of the things that I always have clarity on is God gave me the opportunity to get out so I could give back. I could be an example. There's little girls in Kenya, and I know we'll talk a little bit about the foundation that we have and the graduation rates of girls in elementary school. But when you have 9 siblings looking after you, when you have in my village, it's still the village. I'm so proud of calling it our village because it's an amazing place right now. You will not believe the development that everybody that left that village came back and did. So I was the first one in my family to really get out. But since I came here, I knew I had a responsibility. I had an obligation to not forget where I come from. And I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make. You get out and all of a sudden you forget where you are. The problem is there's an African saying that, you know what? If you cut off the roots, the tree is not growing. So when you forget where you come from and your roots, you've cut down your tree, and you're just going to be working in circles and circles and circles trying to figure out what your why is and why you exist. I'm just blessed that at a very early age, I made the conscious decision that I was going to have an obligation to help other people. And that's what powers me. Every time things get hard or difficult, I think about those people back home that rely on me, that I inspire, that, you know, when I go back, there are times when we go back, Franklin, that we can't tell anybody we're coming back because there'll be like hundreds of people at the airport waiting just to say hello, because to them, and it's not about money or anything like that, to them, they just say thank you. I had a teacher from my elementary school actually send me a video of young kids, I mean, like second grade, saying, and I mean, this is something that humbles me. I'm not saying this to brag, but in that video, you can hear the teacher saying, I went to this same school with Oglah, this same school with Oglah, and she made something for herself, and she's out there representing you. So you have to work hard. Do you know how heavy that feels?
Absolutely.
And how, what an obligation that is, knowing that there are people somewhere in the world that rely on you, that are looking up to you, that are following your story. You know, when I post something on Facebook or Instagram, do you know there are hundreds and thousands of young children in Africa, in my village where I grew up, that look at that and they listen? I can't post anything. I don't have the luxury of posting something that is not inspiring to them, because they rely on that for energy. They rely on that for inspiration. So back to the question you asked, it's my obligation. I don't have a choice. God gave me this opportunity to do this. This is what I was brought to this world to do.
And if more people have that mentality and that vision, I think that is exactly what we need to have a better world. I mean, never forget where we're coming from, and always remember that the ones behind us are there that need to support. And if we can inspire and motivate one person every day, then I think we are doing something to help society, to help the world, and to help people around the world get better. So definitely that's very inspirational and powerful. Disney, you get out of Disney, and I think you go first to Target and then to Keller, and vice versa.
No, my friend, I was a housekeeper. Nobody hired me. I was like, I'm out of Disney. I got a degree. I'm a manager. Hire me, and nada, zip, nada. I didn't speak like this. So people had a hard time trying to put together. I don't know. People don't realize that for some of us, I still do it. We have to translate our English into the English so we understand.
Our language to the head, and then try to get it out in English.
So when I went to the workplace and stuff like that, I actually my first job was at the Sheraton Safari Hotel in Lake Buena Vista in the housekeeping department. And can I tell you something? God is good. I firmly believe that if I did not start in the housekeeping department, I wouldn't be who I am in the United States. If I had gone to the front office where everybody was wearing a suit and speaking nicely and being polished, I wouldn't have the grit that I have right now. Let me tell you something. You want to respect somebody? Go clean housekeeping rooms in a hotel. Go clean 17, 18 rooms a day. And boy, you're going to learn how to be humble.
Respect people.
And
I started working in hotels. I didn't have to clean 17, 18 rooms, but I have a lot of respect for housekeepers, because cleaning 17 rooms, 18 rooms, that's a tough job.
And let me tell you, from that hotel, I was promoted to a supervisor in 3 months. I was actually hired at a different hotel as an assistant executive housekeeper in 7 months. I was a director of housekeeping at a different hotel. I never applied for a job in the United States. I've always been recommended by other people and given opportunity. So just grew through the housekeeping department, learned financial. You don't realize that the housekeeping department has the largest P&L, non-revenue producing P&L. All the housekeeping departments do is just spend money, right? And yet that was where my great opportunity is. So I was, my next gig was at a Holiday Inn. It was up in 192, 426 room, outdoor property. It was in the summer when I got the job. No stairs. We were literally carrying laundry up to the second floor. No stairs in the heat. I tell you something, God puts you in those situations to build your grit and to build your spine, because in that moment, can you imagine, I'm sitting there thinking, God took me out of Africa to come do this. But I was like, God, please teach me the lesson right now. Let me learn it right now, because I want to get out of this situation. But I utilized that. And all I did, I was a director of housekeeping in several properties including the Gaylord. And can I say something? Everybody that was in my department, 99% was immigrant. Think about how God positions you. The same people, I could lead those people because I understood where they came from. I spoke their language. I knew that housekeeper had children that they were just inspiring to have the American dream. And those mothers and fathers broke their bucks for $7 an hour, $8 an hour, minimum wage. But they had such big dreams. So I became the vehicle. So from Africa, you see the pattern from Africa to the United States. And then after 15 years, I left the Gaylord because my friend transferred to Target, and then they started recruiting me. So I went to Target. Who works at Target? Making minimum wage sometimes. Right now it's $15 an hour. Thank God for Target. But back then, it was my people. And they powered me. So that motivation and that drive just kept expanding and expanding, because now I had more people in the United States looking up to me, literally looking up to me. And back in Africa, so now the responsibility just got bigger and bigger. So I went to Target. Believe it or not, this little girl from Africa was running my first store, that team. We went from 48 million to like 61 million in like 2 years.
In revenue, in sales.
In sales. And then when I went to my last store, that was a $36 million store. Now, when you talk about success, people say people get lucky. How do you explain that, Franklin?
I think luck is when preparation meets the opportunity. You need to be prepared. Absolutely. It's not just sitting down and being lucky. You need to be prepared.
And a lot of personal accountability. You don't need anybody to come and push you. God, Jesus, you don't need anybody to come and every day tell you, well, go do this. Or you don't sit there and just expect for things to come to you. Go get the things. You know, my dad used to say you have to earn the seat on the table. Well, you know what? Just like in real estate, if nobody gave me the seat on the table, go build a table. And then bring your people on the table.
Make things happen. Make things happen. And that really made me think of, what we are living right now. This time of pandemic and quarantine, that there is a lot of people that are back to square one, what we can say. Yes. A lot of people that have lost their jobs, a lot of people that have lost businesses, people that have lost family, loved ones. And if you look on the other side, what a great opportunity to start over.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to detach yourself probably from that job that you were just doing to pay your bills, that you didn't enjoy what you were doing.
Yes.
What a great opportunity to start doing what you really are passionate about.
Yeah.
And start living your life. What do you think about that opportunity that we're seeing right now?
I call it a reset. I think there's a spiritual part of me that understands that the world we were living, number one, we had gotten so comfortable. We had gotten so nonchalant. We were thriving in a lot of opportunity, and sometimes success and opportunity, however you define it, right? It can cover a lot of underneath us, the things that we're not doing right. Like we're not with family. We're not spending time with enough family time with family. The other thing too is, I think it was, I call it driving in a highway and then somebody pulls the emergency brake so that you can stop and really reassess all sides of your life. So at Keller Williams Legacy, our brokerage, one of the things that I'm always really inspiring you guys to do is really rethink about the 7 circles in your life, right? Whether it's your health, whether it's spiritual, whether it's business, however, mental health, all those things. This was a reset for you to really sit down and get to know yourself and address some of those areas that you probably had not addressed in a long time. And one of the things that we have to be so grateful. Frankly, do you know, yesterday I was watching the news. I've been trying not to watch it, but yesterday I started watching the news for some reason. There's a cyclone that's headed to India. It's landing tomorrow. 2 million people have to be evacuated during the coronavirus pandemic.
Wow.
That cyclone is so big, it looks like it's going to sit in the whole country. Winds of over 242. Now, think about where we are right now in the US. Think about where we are right now. Those people could be losing their lives because of a cyclone or of a coronavirus. And I think that's what you have to do, is really look at the perspective, because we are in the most amazing country. There's no country that's more resilient than the United States of America.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's just something about this country that it always bounces back.
Absolutely.
Now, let's connect the dots. 80% of the economy is driven by small business. 80% of our economy is driven by small business. The moms and pops, the pizza place, the realtor office, all those, coffee shop, all those. This is a time, if you are professional, reinvent yourself, because you've been given an opportunity, honestly, that you did not anticipate, because we were comfortable. I did that. I was making 6 figures. I had a paycheck every 2 weeks. It was nice. And I forced myself to get out of my comfort zone. This pandemic has forced a lot of people to get out of their comfort zone. So when that happens, reinvent yourself. What is it that you really love to do? Oh, absolutely.
I think we were too comfortable.
Yes. And
it's
now,
a great opportunity to reinvent and get out of that comfort zone. Absolutely. So, Oglah, out of Target, how did you end up being a realtor? How did you end up in Keller Williams?
I'm a typical Floridian. I'm a typical Floridian. You get your driver's license and your real estate license.
Real estate license.
There's like 15,000 realtors in Orlando.
You know when a police officer stops you in Florida and he asks you for your license, people tell the police officer, which one, the driver's license or the real estate license?
I know. So, I always want to share this so people can understand. I just didn't quit my job. Don't do that. You have a family, you have to feed people. And I just don't provide for the family here. I provide for a whole family in Africa. So, and they rely on me for medical expenses. And the schools, the foundation, we have to provide things to the school. We've built 5 churches. So we have my paycheck has a lot of responsibility, whatever what it looks like. So it was a plan. It was an exit plan. My husband and I think we talked about 2 years prior, where he got out of his job in management, and then he, started his own business. And then later on, I was able to get out, and he kind of gave me a grace period, like, 6 months or something to, get yourself together. So of course, I decided to take my license. And then when I got my license, a friend of mine who is actually from Morocco, has a boutique brokerage where, close to where I live. And he was kind of like, come along, you have a lot of experience. We can really use that. But then I got a call from Keller Williams. I think I clicked a button I don't even know what I was doing. At that point, I was just looking for a brokerage. And then somebody called me from Keller Williams. And let me tell you, it was a recruiting appointment. This person is telling me about this company. And in my head, I'm going, no way. First of all, you know me, it's God, family, business. And it's like, oh, this company, the values are God, family, business. I was like, okay, somebody pranking me? And then they're talking about there's opportunities everywhere. They're talking about, it's an expanding company. They're talking about Gary Keller, how he built this company. I was like, is this for real? So immediately after that, I was being interviewed actually in Oviedo, which is very far away from my home. So I asked the team leader over there, I said, is there one closer to me? And he's like, there's one closer to you. And literally 10 minutes later, I got a call from that closer to me. And then I had another appointment. Now that recruiting appointment, I'm so grateful for my first team leader, Beth Woodhall of the Classic Group. In that recruiting appointment for real estate, she never spoke about real estate. She just kept asking me, why do you want to do this? What, 5 years, 10 years from now? What's your legacy going to be? And I was like, what is this lady talking about? And then I just started pouring my heart, like where I'm from, why it's important for me to succeed, why people look up to me. And she just kept saying, you are a perfect fit for Keller Williams. Joined Keller Williams February of 2016, got into leadership running the 2 locations, the brokerages, that same November. And then in between that, I always share this story with you because I know you really love this story. I learned about a lady out of Austin that went to South Africa and went and found a broker in South Africa that ended up opening 29 offices in Africa. I said, wait a minute, what? You're in Africa? I was like, this is a company with my values. They're part of, they're in Africa. They talk about profit share. I mean, everything was just lining up. And I looked at God, I said, is this a prank? Like, I'm home.
Real.
I'm like, I'm in this country. She's talking about opportunities. She's talking about, you know, we are in, I think at that point, we're not even in 30 countries. I think we're only in 23 countries. Right now, we're in 40 plus countries. And so it just aligned with everything I was dreaming about. Now, let me tell you, a lot of people think that you move from agent to team leader to operating principal owner. It was a lot of work. I had to sacrifice a lot to learn very quickly. My plan to buy a franchise was 5 years in Africa. I did it in 3 years in the United States.
In the United States.
And the goal is to open in Africa. You know that's alive. And I'm pushing all of you in the brokerage. Let's open more offices internationally.
And for those of you who are joining us now, I have my dear friend Arturo Pachob and a couple other friends are joining us. Oglah is currently the operating principal owner of Keller Williams Legacy here in Orlando. And I am so proud of you that you were able to do that in just 3 years. Aida Hernandez is also joining us. Take me back to Africa, because I know Instagram control the time and just give us 1 hour. And there's so much we need to talk that I don't want to leave behind. But let's go back to Africa. And 2 things I want to ask you about Africa. The first time, I think it was 2-3 years ago, that you went back to Africa and you had the opportunity to speak at a panel in the family reunion for Keller Williams in Africa. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that opportunity and the message that you share with people back in Africa. And that was in South Africa.
Yes. So in 2016, I always like to go back to the backstory so people understand the power of dreaming and the power of hard work. In 2016, when we went to Bold, you know, we're supposed to write a letter and send it to Keller Williams International about where you want to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And also we have vision board parties at Keller Williams. So on that letter, I actually wrote that I wanted to be a speaker on international platform, inspiring and changing lives. And then I put it on my dream board. And on my dream board, it was actually a map of Africa. And there was like people, and I was speaking. 2016. Push forward, 2018. So when I came back from Kenya in 2016, I pursued the president of Keller Williams Worldwide. He did not know me from Adam. I pursued him and I said, I want to open a Keller Williams in Kenya. I did a PowerPoint presentation. He was so shocked. I did this PowerPoint presentation about opening offices in Kenya. I sent it to him. Nobody responded to me. I called his admin at our international office. And I said, I sent an email and a PowerPoint presentation to Bill Sutteroff. Why hasn't he responded to me? And she was like, who the heck is this? But guess what? He called me. He called me, and then he just, the first thing he said when we were on Skype was, who are you? Like, where did you get in this information? Franklin, it was the market report from Kenya, the average price point, the real estate history in East Africa. I had politicians on there, I had brokers on there, I had this whole beautiful presentation about it. And he said, well, we're not ready to open in East Africa because of different reasons. We want to work on South Africa. But he said, so I said, what do I need to do in the meantime to prepare myself? Because I'm going to open in East Africa. And he just looked at me and he said, okay, go learn how to run a brokerage, a Keller Williams specific brokerage. Demonstrate that you can influence people to be successful. And then we'll give you the opportunity. This guy, somehow in all our international meetings with Keller Williams, I ended up finding him. I looked for him in the corridors. I looked at him in the break room, anywhere I could find him. And finally, he's like, hey, there's a convention in South Africa. He told me, here's the name of the regional operating principal there. Call him and tell him that you want to help. I was like, okay. So I just called this guy. And I'm like, my name is Oglah. I'm in Orlando. And I talked to the president of Keller Williams Worldwide. And he wants me to help. And it just started like that. And they're like, well, there's a convention coming. And I said, well, can I speak in the convention? And he was like, okay. So I was actually given an opportunity to just be a panelist. It wasn't like a speaker or something. So this is very, very interesting. So I get to the convention. I actually invite my daughter, so she came with me. We go to the convention. I'm part of the panelists, and I am in Africa on stage with another maybe 3-4 people. I'm looking down to about a little bit over 300 people, and I am freaking out because I cannot believe I'm on stage in Africa with the company that I love. And I'm thinking, what am I supposed I had prepared all my notes, a presentation. I just took those notes and I just spoke to the people. And I'm not kidding you, Franklin. It was the most incredible experience. I mean, the reaction from the crowd, it was incredible because they saw somebody from Africa that had come out, and not just stories that came back home. So when I really, really push and inspire my agents to go back to their home countries, it's because that feeling that you went back home on the soil and you said and presented something that inspired somebody else, you're changing lives in ways that is not even possible in your local area. So yeah, it was incredible. It was an amazing experience. You know, we were there for a few days and then we went to Kenya. And it was beautiful. I was home.
and I can speak myself for that drive because you inspired me to do things. Like last year we did a backpack drive in Dominican Republic, and I know you were a huge inspiration on that. You pushed me to do it. I had dreams and goals of teaching and doing classes and things internationally, and you also pushed me to do it. Yeah. And last year we accomplished the trips and classes and things, and so you've been pushing me to accomplish some of those things. And another thing in Africa that you mentioned briefly is the churches and the schools that the people that you're helping back home.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so I want to say that one of the things that I'm really proud about is my immediate family, my cousins. So when I came to the United States, my cousins were babies. They were babies. So I got out first. So they came on board, and then the people from my village. So instead of doing all the work for myself, the first time I did it on my own, I used my own paycheck. Nobody contributed. I've never registered this organization in the United States as a nonprofit because I don't want any nonprofit or any benefit. No tax breaks, nothing like that. That's not why I do what I do. So I went to the primary school that I went to, the elementary school that I went to, and literally started there doing little things. For example, they didn't have a kitchen. They were cooking outside. So we built a kitchen for them. My God, I remember when I went there, the bathrooms, I was like, these kids could fall into these pit latrines. And the boys and the girls were mixed. That's the first thing we fixed right away, is building the toilets. And then when I looked at where they were drinking the water from, we started putting, better wells that were actually secure, because I have pictures of those. And I always used to have this nightmare that the kids will fall into the well when they were fetching water, because they have to fetch the water from there. And then we provide the food, because some of those kids, me being one of them, I would drink tea and maybe a piece of corn for breakfast, go to school and stay until the end of the day and come home without eating and still have an education. So the reason we went to build the kitchen first is so that they can have a meal, a hot meal. And one of the things that I'm so proud about is the fact that I never gave them anything. Any projects that I did with my own money, the thing that they had to do, they had to fund 50% of it, meaning the villagers, the parents had to fund 50% of it. I wanted them to learn that they had to contribute. I was not going to give people from where I came from handouts. So that was the first thing. So now, as I started doing those things, then my cousins came over here, graduated. They were nurses. A lot of them right now are nursing practitioners and doctors. So they started doing medical trips to my village, and they would go do blood pressure checks and all that stuff. And then, so I started it, then like my cousin Eric went in there, and then my other cousins, and then my relatives in there, and then other people in Australia and Canada. We started pouring back into this community. We've built we took the old churches. Our family is very spiritual. So my grandfathers donated land for churches. We went and helped build new buildings for those churches. And then the school that I went to, we built a church there so the kids could go to the church within the school compound. So we had 5 churches. We're about to build our largest church, which is church number 6, in honor of one of my grandfathers. There was 5 elders in my village that were the first ones after the colonialists left that were given just thousands of acres of land by the colonialists. All those churches we built in their honor. And last year, we actually built a church right in my grandmother's compound. She's 116. She's currently actually in the hospital right now because she's really like she's about to be 117. So she's not well right now, but we built a church, and guess what? I wanted her to go bless that church before she passed away.
Oh,
and last year,
she's 116.
Yeah, last year she was supported and helped, and she ended up in the church. And she danced. She's like 16. She actually danced at her church. We wanted to build that for us. So we've done that. We support about 7 schools right now. And then we have a local library. My daughter was actually just there because my daughter is taking over all this work from me because I need to step away from it because that's my legacy to my daughter. So she went over there and she was working on some projects with Google to actually bring technology training to the local library. And then what we did as a group is, and I give credit to my very good friend, childhood friend, Vincent Sumbayer, that actually led that library project that we jumped on there. And that library is opened and children can go there anytime. There's laptops, there's books. And my daughter is working on a project with Google where we want to bring technology training to the village right now. And we're not talking about a couple of 100 students. We're talking about thousands of students having an opportunity for free technology training with Google.
Wow.
And she's 20 years old.
Amazing, amazing. And for those of you who are joining us, and those of you who has been listening to this story from Oglah, it's a true story. It's a clear story that everybody in this world can change the world by changing little pieces at a time. I just want to remind you, Oglah is not running for president. She's not looking for votes for a government position. Oglah didn't win the lotto. She's not a sports figure. She's not a movie star. She's just a human being. She's just a resident, somebody that's out of Africa, always had dreams, and always had that passion to help others and to do something better for the world. And that, I think, the message that I want to leave, that we can all do little things that are going to help change the world. We cannot wait for the politicians to do it. We cannot wait for the athletes or for the movie stars or for the famous and rich to do it. We can do our little things, and we can do our things to impact the world around us. Oglah, we have, I think, like another 3-4 minutes.
Yeah.
Briefly, message that you want to leave to women in this world. Women like you, of minority, that are looking for inspiration, that are looking to do something, to change the world. What message do you have to women?
Okay, before I go to the women, I just want to say something about what you just said, right? Let me bring some perspective into it. This is so weird. I want to share a story about Keller Williams' legacy because Franklin is, part of that team. And when I bought that franchise, I didn't buy that franchise to be a millionaire. There's no money goals attached to it to me. I just saw this an opportunity to bring together about 100 and something people, realtors, from all over the world. We have 34 countries represented in our brokerage. And a lot of people talk about, oh, I want to go to real estate and make money. When they come to meet with me to join the brokerage, they're talking about, well, what is the split and all that stuff? And sometimes I talk to myself, and even some of my agents, right? We have about a 72% engagement. So we still got some work to do there. But when I look at the individuals that have given me an opportunity to be their leader, like yourself, you are one person that understands that I'm the most accountable person in your life. I do not let you fail, because I think about the times that I've asked you, what are you doing in the Dominican Republic? And when you did that book drive, and it was almost 700 book bags filled, that you went back to Dominican Republic and you presented to those children at your uncle's school. I know your life has more meaning right now than any other money that you could make and stuff like that. So when I see our agents from, we've done it in Puerto Rico too. We've done it in parts of Africa. We have intentions this year to do one in Haiti. We're changing the world one person at a time. So I just wanted to share that in my life, my responsibility right now is grow other leaders like yourself to go out there and change the world, because then there's a bookmark there. So let's go back to women. There's a saying that if you really want to bring a dangerous world, educate women. Give women a book and educate them. And let me tell you, for those women out there, reach out to me personally. Reach out to me, inbox me right now. And if you need just direction and inspiration of what you can do as a female leader and to be fierce, I'll give you some hints on that personally. That women can change this world, and we're changing this world.
Oh my God, Oglah, my love, we got 1 minute. I mean, my heart is going like this, and I can't thank you enough for your leadership and for what you're doing for the world. I am, more than blessed to call you my friend, to call you my partner, and to be in business with you. And you still owe me that trip to Africa.
You're going with me.
I'm going. Thank you, Oglah. And before Instagram cut us off, thank you to all of you who has been joining us. I will record this conversation. This is not an interview. This is a conversation. I will record it, and I will publish it so people can see it again and share it. My love, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
God bless you.
God bless you too, my friend.
God bless you too, my friend. And we'll see you again.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.